Ever feel like you're drowning in it with all these health apps? Like everyone's got the solution to everything these days.
It's a lot.
Like take blood pressure, for example. You want to stay on top of your heart health, right?
Uh,
But searching for an app can make your head spin.
yeah, and with health information, reliability is key. Like
Yeah.
you don't want just another flashy app on your phone, right?
Right.
You want something that's actually medically sound.
Exactly. And that's why we're diving into this article from the MT Spot, 5 best blood pressure monitoring apps to download for free. And it's medically reviewed, so we can trust the information is actually legit,
Right.
which is a huge relief when you're talking about something as important as, your heart health.
Yeah.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty of each app, let's talk about why these apps are so helpful in the first place.
Yeah. What's fascinating to me about these apps is that they're not just like glorified notepads.
Yeah.
They're actually empowering you to kind of take control of your health in a way that really wasn't possible before.
That's a really good point. It's easy to forget how much we rely on doctors, even for like basic health info.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
With these apps, you're not just passively receiving information. You are actively tracking your blood pressure, noticing trends, maybe even spotting potential issues early on.
Which can be life-saving.
Absolutely.
Early detection is key when it comes to heart health, for sure.
For sure. Plus, think about how much more informed your conversations with your doctor will be when you have this like actual data to share.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's a game changer for patient empowerment.
That's a really good point. I hadn't even considered that angle. Having that data at those appointments could make those appointments way more productive.
For sure.
Okay, so we've established these apps are super useful,
Yeah.
but like you said, there's a ton of them out there.
Right.
This article narrows it down to 5 top contenders, and we're going to break down what makes each one stand out. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it.
All right, kicking things off, we have Via Health. Now, what struck me about this one was its simplicity. The article raves about its user-friendly interface, which I think is a huge plus, especially for anyone who might be intimidated by tech or, new to health apps.
Right. And it's not just about being pretty. VinHealth goes a step further by actually analyzing your readings and sending you alerts if it detects any abnormalities.
Oh, wow.
It's like having a little health watchdog right in your pocket.
I love that. No more second-guessing your numbers.
Exactly.
Okay, next up is Withings HealthMate. This one is for all the data lovers out there.
Yes. What impressed me about Withings is its integration with over 100 other health and fitness apps.
Wow, that's a lot.
So if you're someone who likes to see the big picture of your well-being, this app lets you kind of connect the dots. You can track your steps, your sleep, your calories, all in one place.
And for those of us who need a little visual motivation, it gives you color-coded feedback based on international blood pressure standards. It's a small touch, but it makes a big difference in terms of understanding where you stand.
Totally.
Okay, speaking of easy-to-understand feedback, our next contender is Cardio. This app stood out for its focus on providing clear insights and actionable recommendations.
Yeah.
And talk about accessibility. They offer versions for iOS, Android, Apple Watch. They even have a Kindle Fire version.
Oh, wow.
So no matter what kind of tech ecosystem you're rocking, Cardio has you covered.
I like it.
Yeah, that's impressive. Now, if you're someone who likes to keep meticulous records of their health data, Blood Pressure Diary is worth checking out.
Okay.
It lets you add all sorts of tags to your readings, like if you were feeling stressed,
Roy.
what position you were in when you took your blood pressure, even the weather. All about that context.
Right.
And for those who prefer speed over endless options, you can simply swipe to enter your readings.
Oh, nice.
No need to navigate through a million menus.
I like that.
I appreciate that kind of efficiency.
For sure.
Finally, we have Omron Connect, an app that's known for its data visualization.
Okay.
If you're a visual learner or just appreciate a good graph, this one might be for you. It presents your blood pressure trends in a way that's easy to digest and spot patterns.
Yeah, and sometimes a chart can be more illuminating than a spreadsheet full of numbers.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But they do mention that some of the more advanced features require a premium subscription. So that's something to consider depending on your budget and how deep you want to go with your data analysis.
Right.
Okay, so we've explored some great apps, but I think it's easy to get caught up in the bells and whistles and forget why we're even tracking our blood pressure in the first place.
Yeah, it's like buying like a fancy new notebook, but never actually writing anything in it.
Exactly. So let's talk about the why. Why should we care about those numbers? What do they actually tell us about our health?
Well, you can think of your blood pressure as a kind of internal status report.
Yeah.
Those two numbers, systolic and diastolic, they're giving you a glimpse into how hard your heart is working and the pressure your arteries are under.
And just to clarify for anyone who's not familiar with those terms, I know I had to brush up on mine. Systolic is the top number, right?
That's right, yeah. Systolic pressure measures the pressure in your arteries when your heart beats and pumps out blood. It's the
Oh,
higher number because that's when the pressure is at its peak.
gotcha.
Diastolic, the bottom number, measures the pressure between beats when your heart is at rest.
So it's like a snapshot of your heart in action versus its resting state.
Exactly. And by tracking these numbers over time, you can start to see patterns and get a sense of what's normal for you.
Which is key because I know there's no magic number that applies to everyone, right?
Right. There are general guidelines, and those charts you see at the doctor's office are helpful for categorization. But a lot of factors can influence what's considered a healthy blood pressure range for an individual. Things like age, genetics, even like stress levels can come into play.
So it's always best to talk to your doctor about what's right for you rather than comparing yourself to others or relying solely on those general charts.
Absolutely. Your doctor can give you personalized advice based on your individual health history and risk factors.
Now let's talk about what happens when those numbers start creaking up into the unhealthy range. What are the risks associated with high blood pressure?
Oh, high blood pressure or hypertension is often called the silent killer. And it's a fitting nickname because it often doesn't have any obvious symptoms in its early stages.
Silent killer. That sounds pretty ominous. Why is it so dangerous if there are no noticeable symptoms?
Well, even though you might not feel it, that sustained high pressure puts a lot of strain on your heart and blood vessels. Over time, it damages your arteries, making them more susceptible to hardening and narrowing, which can restrict blood flow.
And that restricted blood flow can lead to some pretty serious health problems, right?
Well,
I know heart attack and stroke are often mentioned.
exactly. High blood pressure is a major risk factor for both of those conditions. It also increases your risk of heart failure, aneurysm, kidney disease, even vision loss.
Wow, that's a scary list. It really puts the importance of blood pressure management into perspective.
It does. But the good news is that managing your blood pressure is often within your control. Lifestyle changes can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And these blood pressure monitoring apps can be incredibly valuable tools in that journey.
That's a great point. Knowing your numbers is just the first step. It's what you do with that information that really matters.
Exactly. It's about using that knowledge to make positive changes and work with your doctor to develop a plan that's right for you.
So these apps aren't just about tracking data. They're about empowering you to take control of your health and make informed decisions.
They're like having a personal health coach right in your pocket, giving you the insights and support you need to live a longer, healthier life.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've talked about the why of blood pressure and explored some really cool apps to help you stay on top of it. Now for the grand finale, let's get practical. What are some things we can actually do to keep those numbers in a healthy range?
Well, the good news is that small changes can make a really big difference when it comes to blood pressure.
I like the sound of that. I'm all for small steps, especially when it comes to health goals.
Yeah,
They feel much more achievable in the long run.
exactly. And one of the most impactful areas is, you guessed it, diet.
Okay, I knew this was coming. It feels like diet always plays a role no matter what aspect of health we're talking about.
It's true, but for good reason.
Yeah.
With blood pressure, one of the biggest culprits is sodium.
Yeah.
So reducing your intake can make a noticeable difference.
Easier said than done, right?
Yeah.
I feel like sodium is hiding everywhere these days.
It can be sneaky, yeah. Processed foods, restaurant meals, even seemingly harmless condiments can be loaded with sodium. Reading labels becomes your superpower.
So true, so true. And then on the flip side, what are some things we should be adding to our diets?
Potassium is your friend. It helps to counteract the negative effects of sodium on your blood pressure, so think fruits and vegetables. Bananas, avocados, sweet potatoes, leafy greens. Load up on those.
All right, potassium. Check. What about exercise? I know it's good for overall health, but what kind of impact does it have on blood pressure specifically?
Exercise is like a magic pill for your heart. It strengthens your heart muscle, improves blood flow, and can even lower your resting heart rate.
So even if we're not training for a marathon, incorporating some movement into our daily routine can make a difference.
Absolutely. Aim for at least 30 minutes of moderate intensity exercise most days of the week. And remember, it doesn't have to be complicated. A brisk walk, a bike ride, even just dancing around your living room, it all counts.
Love that. And speaking of things we can do anywhere, anytime, stress management, life can get pretty hectic, and we all know stress isn't exactly our heart's best friend.
Stress triggers the release of hormones that can temporarily raise your blood pressure. And if that stress becomes chronic, it can have long-term consequences for your heart health.
So finding healthy ways to manage stress is crucial. What are your kind of go-to strategies?
Mindfulness practices like meditation and deep breathing can be incredibly effective. Even just taking a few minutes each day to quiet your mind and just focus on your breath can make a difference.
Yeah, and sometimes just unplugging from technology, getting out in nature, or connecting with loved ones can do wonders for stress levels.
Totally, yeah. It's all about finding what works for you and making self-care a priority.
Now, I know we focused on lifestyle changes, but there are also medications for managing blood pressure, right? At what point does that become part of the conversation?
That's a decision best made in consultation with your doctor. They can assess your individual situation, consider your risk factors, and determine if medication is necessary.
Right, it's important not to self-medicate or rely solely on lifestyle changes if medication is recommended by a healthcare professional.
Exactly. It's about working in partnership with your doctor to create a plan that's tailored to your needs.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into blood pressure monitoring apps, what's the key takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with?
I think the most important message is that you are not a bystander in your health journey.
Yeah.
You have the power to make choices that positively impact your heart health.
It's about taking charge, understanding those numbers, and making those small but mighty changes that add up over time.
Precisely. And remember, these blood pressure monitoring apps can be fantastic tools to support you along the way.
Yeah.
They can help you track your progress, stay motivated, and even share valuable information with your healthcare provider.
It's like having a whole team in your pocket, cheering you on and helping you make informed decisions about your health.
Exactly. So embrace the power of technology, take charge of your well-being, and remember, you got this.
And on that empowering note, we'll wrap up this episode of The Deep Dive. We hope you've enjoyed this deep dive into blood pressure monitoring apps. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep diving deep.